Welcome to Turn the Page podcast with Alyssa and Leah, a podcast where we share our love for children's literature and help create page turners. Today, we will be talking about our personal favorite children's books. These are titles from our own childhood, as well as our favorites for our students. So, Leah,
Yes. Top 5 children's books in no particular order.
I'll have 6. Me too. Okay. Yeah, like this about us, we're not rule followers in that sense. We are rule followers in a lot of ways, but
We like to bend the rules.
right. I mean,
Too.
yes.
Yeah.
All right. So you want to go first?
Yeah. I'll go first and we'll do like one-on-one. Yeah.
That sounds great. Let's do that.
Okay. So the first book that I brought is Charlotte's Web. I did not read this as a child. I read it for the first time with my class,
Okay.
my third graders, second and third graders. And then I did read it to a few first grade classes too. And I absolutely love it. I love the journey. I cry every time.
It's hard not to cry when you're reading aloud. Like Swindle does that for me every time. I cannot read the ending without sobbing.
Oh my God. And the kids are just looking at you like, okay. It's kind of scary. No, but it's a fun book to read. It's a chapter book. So if you have little ones, it's a fun book to read to them. But if you have kids starting out, I think it's a first good starter chapter book too.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's not a super long book, so
No.
it's good to read aloud. And it's great that it has like familiar characters. I feel like nothing about it is too fantasy
Yeah.
for a young child to get into.
And they've probably seen the movie.
Hopefully not before the book.
Or
That kills me.
well,
Truly
popular.
hurts my heart. All right, I brought Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. The reason I bought this book, and the reason I bought it is because I love the world that J.K. Rowling creates and just how it's so magical and amazing. And the reason I bought it first was because it's probably the most obvious for me. And we are both huge Harry Potter lovers.
We are.
We have been to Harry Potter Worlds, Universal Orlando, and loved every moment of it.
Yes.
This is one that when you said about the movie, they've probably seen the movie, it hurts my heart that so many kids have seen the movie before they get to experience the book because there's so much left out in the movies.
Yeah.
And the book is always better, but this book is just so much better. And
It is.
It's so amazing. So the first time I read this was with my mom, and I was a jerk. I did not want her to read it to me, and I would. My brother and I were so mean, and my poor mom, she was just probably getting home from work so tired and just wanted to share this experience with us. So sorry, Mom. But when I reread it as an adult or young adult, I just fell in love with the world of Harry Potter, and I have read it many, many times since. I read this book when I was in labor with my first child because it's just so magical. And I thought, what a great way to come into the world.
I love that. I read that for the first time as an adult as well. And so, I mean, it's a children's book, but great for adults.
Great for adults.
For the whole family.
Absolutely. And I think like this is perfect like to read with your child if they're lower elementary. But I think like fourth grade is like a great time to read Harry Potter.
Absolutely.
And it's super easy as a parent to keep up with if you've watched the movies, because for the most part, they are similar. So you don't have to have read the book to really discuss it with your child.
No. It's a good one. All right. So my next one is Miss Nelson is Missing.
Love this book.
And this, I remember reading my elementary school teachers, first, second grade. I don't remember which grade, but reading it to me, and I was immersed in the world. I was really, I thought it was real. I thought it was a true story.
That's my first experience with this book as well.
Yeah. And I haven't read this with my class, but coming back to it, I definitely will read this year. Because I think that they would enjoy it. And yeah, as a kid, just immersive and fun and entertaining.
Absolutely. A great Halloween book character dress up day.
Yes. Lots of teachers also dress up. Yeah. as Miss Nelson or Viola Swan?
Yes. Yeah. I would say Viola is iconic. Like as a teacher.
I was scared. I was scared of her. And scared of substitutes for that reason.
Absolutely. Though some of these children need to be a little more scared of substitutes. They'll come back and really give me the 7 for our money. The next one is Holes.
I love Holes.
Holes is one of my favorite children's books. And the reason is because I feel like it's immediately captivating because it talks about like how there used to be a lake at Green Lake, there's no lake anymore, and there used deadly yellow spotted lizards.
Yeah.
And immediately you're hooked.
Yeah.
I read this as a child, I think independently, and I loved it. I loved the 3 storylines. And it kind of switches back and forth, which makes it a more complex read for kids. And this is one I love to read with my students because we can kind of track that and keep up with it together. It's also one that has some interesting content for children with Kids in Cape Barlow. So, I mean, it is something I was like, let parents know, hey, we're reading Holes. This is the major storyline. You know, check it out if you want.
But it has a great message. It's very entertaining. Yeah.
Why did you send it? It's an underdog story. I mean, it's a Newbery winner. It's a great book. I love Holes. And I love reading this with my students. I also love that it has short chapters. So if you're like a 1 chapter a day kind of parent, like you must read a chapter a day, and you have a reluctant reader, this is a really quick and easy one because the chapters might be like 3 or 4 pages. And it's just very captivating, I feel like, for young readers.
Yeah. Great book. Great book. My next one is The Napping House.
Oh, yes.
I loved The Napping House. Love the repetition. I think kids really enjoy The Napping House. This one like has special meaning to me because it does remind me of my aunt's house. She would always say like, everyone comes over here and they fall asleep on the sofa. And we did. Like all the kids went over there and we took naps.
She was a napping house.
She had a napping house. But I think children love this because of the repetition. It's a fun read aloud and it's fun for kids to read as well.
Absolutely. I think young readers like revel in that repetition. My daughter loves There Was an Old Lady series.
Yeah,
that's not it. And I feel like this is similar. That kids love hearing that familiar, and it's great for early readers because they can predict.
Yes. Fun read.
Absolutely. All right, my next one is Esperanza Rising.
This is a new one for me.
Okay, so it's not new, but it's sort of new. I think it's like 20 years old. It was published in 2000. And it is such a great story. So it's about a girl who lives on a ranch in Mexico. Her father passes away and her family has to leave the ranch and they become migrant workers in California. And it's a story of someone who's super entitled, super privileged in her home country, and then she comes to America and she has nothing. And I just think it's a beautiful story. And I think it's really great for kids today, especially the kids that we have at our school, with a really high English learner population. And I think that this is a book they can see themselves in. Not all of them live as extreme of a life, but some of them have gone from the situation of having so much and then coming to America and not having a lot. So I just love it for my kids. It's one you should definitely read.
Yeah, I'm interested. I think I would have liked this as like your description as a young adult.
As a child, for your compassionate kids, like people who really have
I like these kinds of stories.
Yes, and her and her mom's connection in the book is like just really, really great.
Awesome. Okay. My next one is Where the Sidewalk Is.
Yes, iconic.
I know. I love this book. Everyone wanted this book when I was in school. Everyone wanted to check it out. It was always
check that book out from a lot of
really. I know it looks like I did. It was obviously in a donation pile that I got from. That's where I got it.
And you can't see this. This book is a library book. It is from North Shore Junior High in Jennings, Louisiana. And it comes complete with the library card of those that have checked it out.
I know. It was a donation. I probably got it at like a garage sale or something. I don't know.
Of someone who's reading books for a while.
And I'm thinking about that. Sorry. I don't know how I got this book, but I have it. It was on my shelf at my house, on my bookshelf. And so I was like, I have to bring this one. Where the Sidewalk Ends. Lots of things you can read with your kids. Lots of funny, interesting stories that kids love. Silly, over the top, just fun read.
Yeah, we used to have a poetry contest at my school.
Yeah.
And this book, I feel like, was where 95% of students
That's so fun.
got their poems.
Yeah.
Chest Overseen was a huge highlight of our poetry
I love that.
contest.
Yeah. So it's an old one. Parents, you remember this from when you were younger. Bring it back to your children. That's what I would say.
All right. My next one is one from my childhood. And I have the Miss Pigglewiggle Treasury, which is all the Miss Pigglewiggle books in one book. And this book, my mom probably read to me because I needed some of these lessons. But the book Miss Pigglewiggle is a character. She lives in the neighborhood. She is a busybody somewhat, and she's very eccentric, and she teaches all these lessons to the children of the neighborhood. So there's different cures that she has, like the Anti-Backer cure, the selfishness cure, the radish cure. And it's just little funny stories, short stories, and they're connected in that Miss Pigglewiggle runs throughout. But they're not, you don't have to read it in order. So you can read like one of the stories, take a long break, and then come back and read another one.
It has an Amelia Bedelia vibe.
Yes. Well, I loved Amelia Bedelia as a kid.
Is it similar or no? It just looks like it.
She's not a nanny. It just looks similar. The book does look similar, but like, I guess basically what happens is there's these kids that have these problems, and then their parents are going to Miss Pigglewiggle.
Oh.
And she comes up with inventive cures of what happened, and she helps their parents cure them of these things.
I like it.
So it's funny. I need to bring this to my house for the won't pick uppers cure.
Okay, so my next ones, these were my favorite books as a child. So if an adult read these books to me once, they read it to me 50 times. I wanted to hear the same book over and over and over again. I'm sure you know someone like this. So it's The Three Billy Goats Gruff and the monster at the end of this book. And when I chose these books, I thought there is a reason. And I think it's the same thing that goes with the Pigeon books. I think most people will be familiar with the Pigeon books. So the pigeon is talking to the reader and very animated, and you can do funny voices and you can do sound effects and things like that. And both of these books have that. So that is why I had to bring them as top 5 favorite children's books.
I love the book with voices, and I think kids love especially like really young readers. I'd say that like young readers, people who can't read the text, but like they can read with you. Olivia, my youngest, loves the funny like voice, the funny character.
That's why I remember them. That's why I wanted them read over and over again, because there was shouting, there were sound effects, there was, and they were talking to you. Well, in The Monster at the end of this book, Three Billy Goats Gruff does not talk to you, but I always liked like the trapper.
Yeah, and the troll.
So those are like experiences, and I think we need to create these experiences when we're reading with children so that they can see like, oh, this is something other than just looking at words or just listening to words. This is a whole experience.
Yeah, it helps that internal voice develop in their head. So when you have different animated voices, it helps them like with that character creation, which then eventually they pick up. They might not have voices necessarily when they're silent reading, but they have like a picture in their mind. And I think that's what makes a great reader. And you love reading when you can create that movie in your mind when you're reading.
It's an experience.
Okay, so my last two are separate, but the first one is from the mixed up files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler. Some people say Basil. I say Basil. Because I did an audiobook this one, so it'd be interesting to know how they say it. I read this as a child. I was in 6th grade. Pretty sure Miss Gallarde's class, which I loved. She loved to read, so therefore I love to read. And it's all about a brother and a sister who run away to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and they have to live on their like pocket change from their allowance, and they live inside the museum.
Yeah, I love an adventure book. It sounds like a great adventure.
It is a great adventure book. It is just a really good story. And it's kind of that story that you maybe thought about in your head, like thought about living in a museum and what it'd be like to sleep in the bed at Dillard's.
I was gonna say, like, that's my kind of adventure too, being lost in a museum. Like living
very safe.
Yeah.
The things do not come to life. This is a realistic fiction story. And then they come in contact with Miss Frankweiler in the book. It's one thing that is funny about this book now is the money. It's obviously not going to go. They have like cents, and they're like buying things with the cents, and it's just like, that is not where it would be today. I think they take a cab for like some coin.
Oh, wow.
Plus taking a taxi with some like loose change. So it's one of my favorites to read with students. It's great to be like accompanied by like a map of the Metropolitan Museum of Art. But it has some of those iconic exhibits that you can see at any museum, like an Egyptian exhibit and a Renaissance exhibit. So different time periods. And then the other one I bought was Percy Jackson.
I haven't read this one either.
You love this one. So this one is really great for anyone that loves mythology. I read this as an adult because it wasn't out when I was a kid, but I loved Greek mythology as a kid. And I think that's like a natural,
very interesting
for kids. Yes. Like, who are these gods of Mount Olympus? And
I love learning about that.
Really great. So this book is the modern day version of that because he is a son of Poseidon. He is a demigod, Poseidon, a human, had him, and he is going to school to learn about being, and he has to face all these challenges. And it is fantastic. And it's a series.
I was going to say it's a series.
Yes. So the fifth graders at our school read this book, only the first one. And the number of kids that want to continue on to the Sea of Monsters is astounding. And I feel like that's a testament to a great series.
I love that. Yeah.
The one sad thing about this book is if your child does not know a lot of Greek mythology, I feel like they miss so many great things in this book. And so if you were going to read this book with your kid, I would say preface it with maybe, some mythologies. I think even Rick Riordan has a mythology book that can be read before it. So you know the stories of like Medusa.
Right.
And they even, I forget who is the god, but like a lot of the famous philosophers are in this book too. So like if you know that, it's funnier.
Yeah. I think I would be interested in this. I would be interested in all of these. These are like, I think we have similar tastes.
100%. Yeah. We both love.
We know we do have similar tastes. I don't think it. What? I know we do.
Yes. We love like anything like fantasy. We love mythology. Yeah, definitely. I think we have similar tastes. I've just read a lot of more recent chapter books since I've taught upper grades. When I feel like my kids are always reading that. So I'm wanting to have those conversations, which I don't think you need to read every book to have good book conversations with kids. But I do think as a parent, if you can like pick up Percy Jackson while your kid's reading it, I think that community of reading that you can build.
Oh yes, I love that.
Is such a great thing.
Yes. So we want more top books. So we want to hear about your top books. If you have any that are like, you don't have to give us 5. It was kind of hard to pick 5 for me. To narrow it down.
I don't have to say I have 55.
No, narrow it down. But if you could say, oh yeah, like this is the children's book that I always recommend, let us know, like so we can look into it and share it. And
absolutely, we plan on reading some books that either of us have read. So if you have a book that we definitely should read, we'd love to hear it. And hopefully we haven't read it.
Yeah.
That's so exciting when you find a new one, a gem. So to close out,
Alyssa, what's making you turn the page?
I'm going to go on the community thing. I think the community of readers, so like for me, it's our book club, having that group of people that you can kind of bounce ideas off of. So we read about a book a month, every 6 weeks or so as a group. But then also just having like that group of people that I can like text,
Yeah.
hey, what's your recommendation? A few of us started sharing on like Goodreads or like Instagram stories, what we're reading. That helps me because I know if you and I have similar tastes.
Yes, because book club, we meet once a month, so we wait to talk about the book. We don't discuss it, even though we work together, see each other every day. We don't discuss the book. But when we have like our side books and we can text each other, yeah, I definitely love that.
Yeah, it's great. It's good fun. And that's it. You know, if you could create that for your kid, like either you're their community as a parent, or find them like friends with similar book interests, I think that really helps develop a reader. I know like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, the kids. Like when Cheese Touch became a big thing, they all had to read Diary of a Wimpy Kid because they want to know more about this Cheese Touch. And that develops a community of readers.
Yes, I love that. So what's making me turn the page? I think you're making me turn the page right now because I am really interested in some of these. I'm sad I missed out on some of these, and I think one of those is going to be like my next read.
Awesome.
We'll see.
Well, we'll maybe do a 3, 2, 1, let you read the synopsis and pick from one. Thank you for listening to Turn the Page podcast with Alyssa and Leah. Please take a minute to follow us and leave us a review. We would love to hear from you.
Speaking of hearing from you, we would love for you to follow us on social media. You can find us on Instagram at turnthepage_podcast or Turn the Page Podcast on Facebook.
Bye, y'all.